One thing that did come out of my recuperation and myself and other people helping to get me well again, and I think I'm nearly there, is I was sitting in an armchair one day, and I must have been sitting in there staring at the floor for 2 or 3 hours. But within that, an idea came to me, a thought came to me, and it was amnesty, amnesty. Amnesty for paedophiles, amnesty for paedophiles, amnesty for paedophiles. And I thought, what the fuck's this, amnesty for paedophiles? And it kept hitting me, amnesty for paedophiles, amnesty for paedophiles. And then it said that expose the paedophilic rings they're working for. That expose the paedophilic rings they're working for. It will cause mayhem, it will cause mayhem, it will cause mayhem. Then you put it all together. Amnesty for paedophiles that expose the paedophilic rings that they have been working with. It will cause havoc, because they will all be saying, who's the first one to come out and going to grass us all up so that they can get amnesty. So, amnesty for paedophiles who expose the rings that they're working for. Let's do that.
I would like to see a kind of amnesty for everybody who's been up to these practices, and to be rehabilitated and restored into the mainstream of the human community. I would like to see a kind of amnesty for everybody who's been up to these practices, and to be rehabilitated and restored into the mainstream of the human community. We couldn't go into the court this morning because it's closed court, family proceedings, and even the judgment day was a closed hearing. So we haven't actually heard what she said this morning, and we probably won't know till later on in the day, at the earliest, what is actually in her judgment, and therefore what will happen to the children, about whom there is the most concern, is about the future of the children who've blown the whistle and been so brave. And obviously our actions outside the court for the last 2 or 3 weeks have been to bring to public attention the need to support this family and these children particularly in their grandparents' strong plea, their Russian grandparents, to be able to take their grandchildren home to Russia at this stage, having gone through this great public explosion of interest around them. They should be away from the UK. They should be able now to continue their childhood away from the abuse that they've suffered, if they have suffered abuse, which I personally strongly believe they have been abused, and there's medical forensic evidence for that, so to me there's no question they have been abused. I have my private take on the case and who has abused them and who has not abused them, so I think probably a lot of us would agree that we would perhaps believe the children's initial side of the story. So now we're very anxious to hear that the grandparents, who've made it very plain that they're ready, willing and completely capable of bringing these children up and giving them the kind of remainder of their childhood that any normal child would benefit from and would deserve, that the grandparents' request and strong wish in this case has been heard by the judge, and she has respected that, and then she has honoured her professional duty to stand in her honour to do the right thing for those children. There is only one right thing at this stage, and that is to give them to the grandparents. Mother is absent from the country, so she couldn't immediately take the children. Father, there are still question marks, big question marks, which must remain in the judge's own mind if she's really honest with herself. So the option is then remaining in local authority care. Well, that's not the best thing for the children either, because in local authority care, one thing that made me actually quite angry all the way through, and which is why I went on the streets, is that the father has weekly access to those children when the accusations against him are the strongest. And we have every reason to suppose that he has continued his terrorisation of them while they've been in care. So that they are not free, they're prisoners in care, and they are subject to their possible alleged abuser. So that's not right. to avoid any of that and to free them from now on, there's only one option that should happen, and that is that they should be allowed to go back to Russia with their grandparents. So here we are, and we're sort of become a little community around this case. We've every time I've been on the streets outside the royal courts, a few more lovely people have joined me on that particular day, you know, most days of the week for the last 3 weeks. And I think we can safely say we've now come together as a community, and that we join up with a much wider internet community who have been emailing and who've been phoning in some cases and talking to us in all sorts of ways online and from all corners of the world. I feel very much a community has grown up around this case with a keen and passionate desire to see justice, which we don't believe we will have had today, and to carry this through so that what actually has been going on, which has not yet been fully investigated, if investigated at all, will come to light, and that we will face whatever horrific reality there is behind this case. And I happen to believe that there is a horrific reality behind this case, will come to light, and that collectively all the good people of the world, to use a very basket term, good people, will manage to confront this and help those who have been doing these unnatural practices in our generation, in this time now, to rejoin us. I would like to see a kind of amnesty for everybody who's been up to these practices, and to be rehabilitated and restored into the mainstream of the human community. They must feel at some level in their conscience, if they have a conscience, quite isolated, quite distressed, disturbed at some level spiritually. How can they cope with what they've been doing? Small children, if they have been doing that. What are we to do with these people? How can we make it right for them? It's very likely that when they were growing up as children, that they suffered exactly the abuse that they're now meting out to the children of the younger generation that they're in now. So they need healing, they need rehabilitating, they don't need violence, they don't need stringing up from lampposts and any sort of violent threats against them. Even the people in Hampstead, there's no, in my heart anyway, there's no wish to go around having a witch hunt against all the people who've been named in the Hampstead area.